You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 Suspension and Bodyweight Training System. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel,
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Lynn with the ball in his hands. Fans on their feet. 5, 4. Lynn for the win. Got it. Of his 27 in the fourth. New York by 3.5 left. My goodness. The Green rising to the top. Tremendous elevation on that jump shot. Stage presence. Wow.
Welcome to Louis Live, hosted by Raphael Geller today. Today we will be talking about Jeremy Lin, the sensation, and we will be covering college basketball and a little bit of some NBA action. First of all, let's start off with Jeremy Lin. Where has this guy come from? Today we're gonna take a little deeper look at where he came from, his background, pretty much everything about him. We're gonna explore Lin's sanity. We want to start off today with a little history about Jeremy Lin, where he's from, how the story came about, all of that stuff. So Jeremy Lin went to high school in Palo Alto, which is in California, and Excuse me, sorry about that. And he was a very good player in high school, and he started off his high school year playing pretty decent, pretty well. And by his senior year, he was averaging 15.1 points a game, 7.1 assists per game, 6.2 rebounds a game, and 5 steals a game, which are pretty impressive numbers. Now, his dream was always to go to Stanford, which is in Palo Alto, or UCLA in Southern California. And his dream, unfortunately, did not come true. He sent his resume and DVD highlights to all these schools and was hoping he'd hear back some positive input from them. But unfortunately, the Pac-10 schools, including Stanford and UCLA, told him that they would only invite him as a walk-on, which now is pretty funny if we think about it. But a few Ivy League schools said, we're kind of interested. We're going to send a scout out. So a Harvard scout came out to watch him his senior year, and the first thing the Harvard scout said after he saw Lin play one game was he said, quote, "Lin is a Division III player at best." Ha ha ha. After that, Lin heard the news from his coach that the scout came and wasn't impressed, and he really, he got motivated, he got mad. Lin has always believed in himself. He's always thought that he was a great player and that he could make it in the NBA. And when you're told that you're a Division III player, you take that very, very hard. And so the coach convinced the Harvard scout, please, please, please come for another game. I promise you that Jeremy Lin will perform at a higher level. So the scout said, okay, it's only Harvard basketball. We're not talking about a powerhouse, so why not give the guy a chance? After all, he did have a 4.2 GPA in high school, which definitely helps. So the scout comes back to the game, and suddenly Lin is just playing completely different. He's driving to the hoop. He's shooting well. He's doing everything that you want to see a good point guard do. And you know what? The scout said Jeremy Lin has a spot on Harvard. And actually, the interesting part is at the time, right when this started happening, Jeremy Lin started playing really, really well at the end of his senior career. And he beat Master Dai in the state championship game. And they're known for being pretty much a powerhouse of football. They've had the Ware brothers. The Ware brothers went there, who are now currently starring at UCLA. They also had the Barkley, the quarterback from USC. So they're known for being a very big powerhouse. And he actually beat them in the state championship. And after that happened, suddenly out of nowhere, he got a bunch of hype from all these schools. And Harvard was actually scared that Stanford and UCLA would, at the last minute, try and snag Lin. But they did not. And Jeremy Lin ended up at Harvard. So Jeremy Lin got to Harvard. He didn't play that much his first year. And he at first he believed that he had a lot of grudge for not being not being selected to pick at UCLA and California and UCLA, California, and Stanford, his hometown. So he really said, I have a lot of people to prove, a lot of doubters to prove. I want to step up my game and prove everyone wrong and show everyone exactly who I am and what I'm capable of. So his first year, like I said, he didn't play that much. And then his second year, you got a little more of an opportunity to play. And he, by his junior year, he was first team All-Ivy League. And by his senior year, he completely exploded on the scene and was known as being a big-time player. Interesting part is, by his senior year, his coach was Tommy Amaker, who's a former coach of Michigan, University of Michigan. So this guy has a lot of experience with, NBA potential, and has had a lot of talent come through when he was coaching at Michigan, and he was an assistant coach at Duke, and we all know what Duke has been able to produce over the last 25 years. So just by his senior year, he averaged about 16 points a game, was dishing the ball pretty well, and was projected as a possible second-round pick, but not very likely. So the draft 2010 draft came along. Unfortunately, Jeremy Lin did not get selected, but he got offered to a few summer league camps, which is when you pretty much have a tryout to get a contract when you weren't drafted. He was pretty excited about the opportunity, but again, he felt like, why am I not getting my praise for being the player who I believe I am? So he started off in the summer league. He played 5 games, while playing both guard positions, shooting guard and point guard. He's naturally a point guard. He averaged 9.8 points, 3.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 1 steal in 19 minutes a game. Now, 9.8 points a game is pretty impressive. 3.2 rebounds is not bad for a 6'3 guard, but the thing that really was kind of shaky was his 1.8 assists per game. If you're a point guard, you're expected to dish the ball a lot better, and that kind of threw a lot of GMs off. And so he then, after that, he decided that he was going to, he got a couple offers to, be one of those guys you always watch on TV who sits on the bench, and as soon as there's a timeout, comes up to the players, gives them a high five, but never really plays. And he got some interest from the Mavericks, the Lakers, and an unnamed Eastern Conference team, which, who knows, could be the Knicks. And he decided that he would sign with Golden State, which is pretty much Oakland, Bay Area, where he's from. Before that, I want to go back to one thing that really, when I was doing some research on Jeremy Lin, something that really caught my attention was that he had one game where he was matched up with the first overall pick in that draft, in the 2010 draft, which was John Wall, the Kentucky grad, who was there for his freshman year under Coach Calipari. And in this game, he outscored John Wall. He had 13 points, and he played very, very well. And people kind of were surprised, like, who is this kid? Harvard, undrafted, against John Wall? Like, what's going on here? And he actually ended up getting more cheers every time he shot the ball and scored than John Wall. Funny part now is that John Wall has, now been with the Wizards for 2 years. He's had pretty solid stats, but he hasn't been able to lead the team, to start him. He hasn't been the face of the franchise. Anyway, let's go back to his where he began, his starting career. So he went to Golden State, and as soon as he got signed by Golden State, he exploded in China. This was a huge thing for the Chinese, to have another player from Chinese descent to be in the NBA. And I don't know if anyone knew this, but China has 300 million basketball players. 300 million. That's almost the size of the United States. So they definitely have the right market there. And a few years ago, the NBA opened offices there. Obviously, we all know about Yao Ming and everything that he's been able to bring to the NBA and the Chinese community across the United States. So he goes to Golden State, and he really doesn't get any playing time. And unfortunately for Golden State, they decide to cut him, and he decides to go to the Houston Rockets. Now, when he's in the Houston Rockets, he's there for a little bit, but they didn't need him. Lowry, their point guard's having an amazing year, was a snub for the All-Star team, and they didn't really have any room for point guards. They were pretty set there. And so, again, for the second time, he got released. Now, this is where the story, everyone knows the story, but this is now where things get really interesting. The New York Knicks, suddenly out of nowhere, are slumping. Everyone's calling for D'Antoni to leave. People are saying, wait a minute, Carmelo Anthony, Amari Stoudemire is not working. What did we do? We gave up our whole roster to get Carmelo. And we're I believe it was 8-15 in the conference. Just no one caring about the Knicks. Just what's going on? The point guards are just nothing. We have no one. Mike Bibby's not producing. Baron Davis is out with an injury. And unfortunately, Amari Stoudemire's brother died, and Carmelo Anthony was injured. So the Knicks figure, you know what? Let's sign him and see. He's probably never going to play, or maybe he'll play as a backup, or he'll get 10 minutes a game. And we'll see what he can do. And so the Knicks signed him, and this is about, I think, 2.5 weeks ago, and this is one of the funniest, coolest parts about the story is that when the Knicks signed him, Jeremy Lin was actually staying with his brother, who's a dental student at NYU. He was staying with his brother on his couch because he didn't have a guaranteed contract. When you don't have a guaranteed contract, you never know if you're going to get cut, what's going to happen, the money. It's hard to see what's going to happen. So his brother told him, you know what, bro, you can stay here with me as long as they're Nick, and we'll see what happens. So Jeremy Lin gets the start against, I believe it was on February 4th against New Jersey. Gets 36 minutes of play, which is, for a guy who's undrafted from Harvard, all these stereotypes, whatever you want to say, is just amazing. And not only does he play, but what does he do? He puts up 25 points in the game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, shoots 52% from the field, and they win 99-92. So suddenly, New York media is talking about him, and he's not yet Linsanity, but he's getting to that point. People said it's a fluke, whatever. Oh, he had one good game. This is never going to happen, blah, 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 blah. So the next game, they play at Utah, and he plays 45 minutes. And not only does he outplay himself from the previous night, but people start to finally believe he has 22 points, 8 assists, and shoots even 58% from the field. So at this point, people are starting to say, okay, who is this guy? Why don't I know about him? And where did he come from? So Linsanity then began. And since then, he's just been on a tear. The Knicks have won 7 games in a row. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks, who were 7-15 a few weeks ago, have won 7 in a row. The whole world is exploding with this Jeremy Lin guy. Everyone suddenly wants to watch the Knicks, and everyone's tweeting about him. Everyone's talking about him. Everyone is, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And now his story's been completely exposed. One of his best games a couple nights ago was against Kobe Bryant. They had a duel. They kept going back and forth and back and forth. Bryant would score. He would score. But Jeremy Lin ended up having 35 plus points in that game. By the end of the game, people in Madison Square Garden were chanting this guy's name. I mean, this guy is, I don't want to say becoming a legend, but just, wow, like this guy's really turned it up for the Knicks. And I'm not going to examine why I think the Knicks have been so successful with him. I mean, he is a good point guard. He does have a pretty good style of game, but there's something about him that's really helping the Knicks, come through in the clutch towards the end of the game. That's been kind of a problem with the Knicks. They play well the first half, and then they kind of just fall apart the second. Amari's had a horrible year. He's averaging 18 points a game. Last year he averaged 25. Carmelo's been injured all year, averaging 22 points a game. And really the biggest thing is the point guard issue. They let go of Billups, which ended up being a huge mistake. He's being a superstar, or he was a superstar with the Clippers until he tore his Achilles. Chris Paul at the Clippers said, the reason why this Clippers team is succeeding so well is not because of Chris Paul, not because of me, or because of Blake Griffin or DeAndre Jordan. It's because Chauncey Billups. The point guard, in my opinion, is the most important position in the NBA. Look at Derrick Rose. Look at all the great point guards in the league. Allen Iverson back in the day. But anyway, back to where I was. Excuse me. So the reason why I think they've been succeeding so well is if you look at Mike D'Antoni, when he's been a coach with the Knicks, he's been playing this weird system, not the D'Antoni style where you run and gun, you run up and down, you play hard, you have a point guard who's really the face of the team. Steve Nash won 2 MVPs when D'Antoni was there. He was the face of the franchise. He got everyone going. During his prime years, let me say, Nash got everyone's numbers up. He made Sean Marion a better player, and the guy who really, really affected was Amari Stoudemire, which is interesting because now Amari Stoudemire was reunited with Coach Antonio. Now, people wonder, why isn't Stoudemire been doing well? Well, it's pretty simple. He hasn't had that point guard to help him with the pick and roll game. He hasn't had that point guard to help him get those open shots. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Jeremy Lin is this style of point guard. Jeremy Lin is the type of guy who, when he comes up the floor, he's not going to take it up easy. When he sees an open opportunity, he's going to drive to the lane. If he sees a good shot for himself, he's going to take it. But he also is very capable of dishing out. Last night he had 13 assists. The night before that he had 11 assists. The most ridiculous stat from his game last night is that he had 13 assists in 26 minutes of play. Now, that a regulation game, for those of you who don't know, is 48 minutes. Now, just think about that for a second. 13 assists in 26 minutes. That's just amazing. I mean, that's probably one of the best marks this season in the NBA. Maybe not, if ever. This guy is just, what he's doing is unbelievable. I keep saying it. I know I keep saying it, but it's just so true. And again, the reason the Knicks have been so poor the last few years is they just haven't had a point guard. They've always had a guy who can score. They've always had a big guy, they had Stephen Marbury, they had Allen Houston, but they've just lacked a point guard the last few years. And now that they have a point guard, they have Steve Novak, who can shoot the three. They have Tyson Chandler down low, who won the championship with the Mavericks, who's just known as being a force. They have, we know, Stoudemire and Carmelo. And the only missing thing was a point guard. This team now, I know people are going to call me crazy, but this team is very capable. The East is not very, very strong this year. You have the Heat and you have the Bulls, obviously. But after that, you have teams like Indiana and Atlanta. And teams that are good, don't get me wrong. But those teams are Atlanta's never really been able to produce in the playoffs. And the Pacers are a very young team, very young coach, rookie coach. Their star players, Roy Hibbert, second, third year in the NBA, fourth year maybe. Just a very young team, Danny Granger. But this Knicks team is not a young team. I mean, we have Melo, who's a 9-year veteran. We have Stoudemire, who's been in the NBA since he was a teenager. This team has a lot of talent, has a lot of potential, and if they can figure out a way for this to work. Now, let's remember Carmelo Anthony hasn't returned, which is people in New York are saying, Carmelo who? Carmelo what? We don't want Carmelo Anthony. Not that we don't want him, but we're scared. What's going to happen when he comes back? When Carmelo comes back, he wants the ball. He's the guy who's going to demand the shot in the fourth quarter. He just had an interview last night with Stephen A. Smith where Stephen A. said, people in New York are worried that when you come back, this whole insanity will be over. The 7-game winning streak will be done. You guys won't be able to coexist. And I hate to say it, but it's pretty important thing to be concerned about. When he was in Denver, he took them to the Western Conference Finals one year. But besides that, he couldn't really produce that well in the clutch. And he had a good supporting cast a few of the years there. And he's known for, I don't want to say being a ball hog. That's not fair. But he's known for kind of just not really being a good defender and kind of just running down the floor and taking shots and not really hustling. And that's literally, as we know, the opposite of Jeremy Lin. This guy gives 100% every game. I know that's not a number, but that's what Jeremy Lin is. And just... will they be able to coexist? That's really the biggest question. Anyway, when we come back from this commercial, we're going to analyze some of the top 10 players who have been undrafted the last 15, 20 years, and we're going to compare them to Jeremy Lin. So please come back in about 3 minutes.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hi, we're back on Louis Live, hosted by Raphael Geller. As I promised, we're now going to look really quickly at some of the top 10 undrafted players of all time and see if maybe, I said maybe, Jeremy Lin could get on this list eventually. So I found a list that was compiled by ESPN, and I'll read really quickly the top 10 in their opinion. We have Ben Wallace from the Detroit Pistons, John Starks from the Knicks, Raja Bell is playing a lot of teams, Jose Calderon, which is ironic. Jeremy Lin made the buzzer beater against him Saturday night, I believe, Saturday night against Toronto. Brad Miller, who's played for the Pacers, Sacramento Kings. Earl Boykins, known for being the short 5'7" point guard who's always been able to produce. He was on the Nuggets last. Bruce Bowen works for ESPN, was a defensive guy who played for the Spurs. Haslam, starting power forward for the Miami Heat. And Chucky Atkins, a veteran point guard. And Bo Outlaw. So looking at this list, there's a few good players on here. Brad Miller had a couple all-star appearances. John Starks is famous in New York for having that dunk over the Bulls. Raja Bell is famous for that whole "I'm better than you, Kobe" thing, which we know he's not. And Ben Wallace, of course, is considered one of the best defensive players, I don't want to say of all time, but maybe I could say all time. In the last 10, 15 years, he's won a few Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's led the league in rebounds for a couple of years. So let's think about, hold on, let's go through a little more of this. Bruce Bowen's known as really just being a defensive player. Haslam's a solid player, but I wouldn't call him, a star. Out of all the guys on this list, the only guys who have really been, quote-unquote stars for the team were Brad Miller with the Pacers in the mid-2000s. Jose Calderon is a star in Toronto, but no offense to all the Toronto listeners out there, Jose Calderon is not really the answer for the Raptors. He puts up good numbers, but the team still wins. Raja Bell, solid NBA player in his career. I don't even think he has any all-star appearances. John Starks also. He's a good player, but not a superstar. Ben Wallace, though, definitely number one. So hypothetically, and let me make it clear that I said hypothetically. Let's say Jeremy Lin continues his tear for the rest of the season, and maybe for a couple seasons. Would we put him ahead of some of these guys on the list? And my answer is simply yes. I mean, Bo Outlaw's not very. We're not having technical problems. Bo Outlaw's very, very mediocre guard, and So Jeremy Lin could be who knows? Jeremy Lin could be maybe number 5, number 4, number 3. It really depends. But if he continues this tear that he's on right now, you really never know. His potential, just watching him play, his potential to be a great guard in the league, especially if he stays in the D'Antonio system, he gives it his all. You can tell he hustles. You can tell that he really loves what he's doing. You watch a lot of players these days, and you're really worried that, do they really want to be there? Like Elton Brand signed with the 76ers for a ton of money, $80 million plus. Ever since he's been there, he's been injured. He just doesn't look like he cares. And Jeremy Lin is a guy no one believed in him in high school, in college, after college. He's been cut by 2 teams. No one believed in him, and he's just proving everyone wrong. Now, an interesting thing that I saw the other day is we all know Yao Ming retired a few years ago, and at the time everyone was very concerned in China, like, now what? Yao Ming's gone. What are we gonna do? And bam, Jeremy Lin pops up. It's almost like fate. He becomes a star right after Yao Ming retires. And since Jeremy Lin has started this crazy tear, February 4th, his jersey sales are the number 1 in China. That's amazing. That's over Kobe Bryant, over Tim Duncan, over all the guys who usually are in the top 3. LeBron, even Carmelo. This guy is taking the whole world by storm. I was sitting on my couch the other night, just hanging out, watching Israel's version of SportsCenter, and suddenly I look up and I see in a Hebrew accent an Israeli guy starts talking about Jeremy Lin, and I go, wow, if I'm sitting on my couch in Jerusalem, Israel, and this is being covered by the Israeli media, then you really know something big is going on. Another really interesting thing is the New York Times had an article talking about all these guys who are now, stockbrokers or in Wall Street or whatever. They went to Ivy League schools, so they're what are you doing after you go to Ivy League school? That's what kind of stuff you do. They talked about, well, when I was in college, I guarded Jeremy Lin, and what did I do? I contained him to 8 points. I contained him to 12 points. And it's just really funny to see all these guys who are working in the Wall Street talking about, I don't understand why these NBA teams aren't being able to guard him. I could guard him. I even hit, one of the players from Princeton even said, I even hit a buzzer beater against him. So that's pretty funny. Quickly, I just want to read to you a few of my favorite tweets that I've seen that really have, in my opinion, are just really funny. Let's start off with the best one by Shaq. Shaq tweeted, I think last night, a couple nights ago, Linderella, story of the year. Jeremy Lin has Lindle-handedly played Lin-stational, Lin-credible. I'm Lin-press. All he does is Lin. Let's find another one. Shane Battier. Chuck Norris may wear Tebow pajamas, but I'm pretty sure he has a Jeremy Lin nightlight to scare the boogeyman away. Wow, what a run. Like, this story is just taking everyone is rooting for Jeremy Lin. I can't think of anyone who's not, except that's going to bring us to our next topic that we're going to talk about, Floyd Mayweather, the boxer. He's come out and said the only reason why Jeremy Lin has been such a big story is because he's Asian American. Wow, that's all I have to say. When I saw that, first of all, I remember the time when Floyd Mayweather made fun of Manny Pacquiao, and told him to go make some rolls or something. Made fun of him. So it's obvious here that Floyd Mayweather is the racist one. He's the one who has a problem. He says that the black players don't get, the fame that they should. Or one second, I want to find the quote. It's, Jeremy Lin is a good player, but all the hype is because he's Asian. Black players do what he does every night and don't get the same praise. Well, how do they not get the same praise when pretty much everyone on the All-Star this team is African American? Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, over the years, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. I mean, the list, Michael Jordan. What are you talking about, Floyd Mayweather? Where are you coming from? Are you jealous? Do you wish you were Jeremy Lin? I don't understand this. I mean, everyone's rooting for him. It's a great story. He's very humble. And even President Obama's rooting for him. You may not like President Obama. You may, whatever. That's not the point. The point is the president just had his press secretary. They were having a news conference yesterday, and he kept mentioning how the president is keeping up on Jeremy Lin's stats. And this is just a big story. The last thing we're going to talk about with Jeremy Lin, and then we're going to do a quick 10 minutes of college basketball because we're only on today until 6:45 Israel time and 11:45 American time. So the last couple minutes, we're going to talk about the whole Tebow versus Lin comparison. So, everyone's been talking about, earlier in the year in December, we had Tebow Mania. Now we have Linsanity. So which one is a bigger deal? I'm going to go ahead with Jeremy Lin, the obvious choice. I don't know how anyone could go with Tim Tebow. Yes, Tim Tebow, took a team that was really bad and made them relevant again. But that's it. I mean, what else did he do? He let's not forget, Tim Tebow was a Heisman winner his sophomore year in college. He was an All-American when he was in high school. He won 2 national championships. He was the face of college football, and he was drafted in the first round. All those things. It's a great story about his religion and all that. But if you know more about Jeremy Lin, you find out this guy is almost the same thing as Tim Tebow, except even a better story. He is an evangelical Christian, and he wants to be a pastor when he grows up, just like Tebow. And he was not an All-American in college. He was barely recruited out of high school, and he was undrafted. So this whole comparison of Tebow Mania and Linsanity is just, in my opinion, it's ridiculous. Also, Tim Tebow was on the Denver Broncos, Denver is in the middle of the United States. I mean, they had those good years with Elway as quarterback, but let's be honest, they're not a huge sport. Well, I'm sure the Denver people would argue they're a big sports city, but we're talking about the New York Knicks. We're talking about Madison Square Garden. Even when you see Spike Lee tweeting positive things about the Knicks, you really know something's going on with the Knicks. Spike Lee is possibly known as the biggest celebrity fan of the Knicks, is in love with Jeremy Lin. Anyway, that's all we're going to do about Jeremy Lin today. I'm sure we'll talk about him more as the future goes on and as he possibly extends the 7-game winning streak for the New York Knicks. Now I want to move on to some college hoops, talk about some games that we had this week that were games of the week. One second. Earlier in the week we had Louisville against Syracuse. Now Louisville started the year pretty well. They're in the top 10 in the rankings, and they were expected to be a very good team, but they got ripped by injuries at the start of the year. And since then, they kind of slumped. But in the last couple of weeks, they've won a lot of Big East games, and they're right up there in the top, I believe, 3 in the Big East. And they were contending for the number 2 spot against Syracuse. And Syracuse, on the other hand, is just, coached by Jim Boeheim. We all know about the Bernie Fine scandal, but he's put that behind him, and they've just had an amazing year. This game was really supposed to be the game that helped Louisville, get over the hump and get that big win against the number 2 team in the country. Louisville played really well. They were led by who are they? Excuse me, sorry. They were led by I can't pronounce his name, but he's a great forward, led by Chain Bihan, I think, who's a forward. He played 29 minutes, shot 7 for 8 from the field, had 16 points, and it was pretty good. Chris Smith, their guard, had a pretty off night, 3 for 11, only 10 points. And their one of their main stars, Peyton Silva, their real point guard, was 3 for 5. It was kind of a non-factor. Kyle Kurtz, their guy who's been, the guy who's been resilient, been able to bring this team back, was only 1 for 8. But despite all that, they were in the game. They were doing really, really, really well at the end. And I was watching the game, and I was saying, you know what? Louisville could win this. And the last few minutes, unfortunately, they just completely fell apart. They couldn't score. I believe Syracuse scored the last 7 points, 6 points. So they ended up winning 52-51. It was a big crush to Louisville. It was a big home game for Louisville. Patino was wearing that famous white suit that we all know about that's got him very, the one that he wore a few years ago, I believe, against, I think it was Georgetown, or one team was ranked number 1 in the country, was wearing a black suit. He changed the suit at halftime, and they ended up winning the game. So, when Patino wears that white suit, something big is happening. But I just want to really look at this Syracuse team and just give a ton of credit to the coaching staff, especially since Bernie Fine has been out. You look at this team, and they have C.J. Fair, they have James Sutherland, Brandon Trish, Scoop Jardine, Famelo, Chris Joseph, Dion Waiters. And, you look at it and you're like, who's the star? Who's going to take the last shot on this team? C.J. Fair is capable. Brandon Trish is capable. Scoop Jardine is capable. Chris Joseph, the Canadian, for all the Canadians out there, from Toronto, I believe, is very capable. This team is loaded. This team is one of those teams that kind of reminds me of the 1975 Indiana team. Not that they're the same. Don't get the wrong interpretation. But this team is just built as a team. This team is just, when they have great guards. Brandon Trish, Scoop Jardine, their forwards. Chris Joseph has just really played well. He hit that huge shot against Georgetown a couple weeks ago, and really the most improved player on the team, if not the country, has been Fab Melo. And, he came out of Brazil, went to high school in America, huge recruit. Everyone would say he'd be the new big thing. His freshman year didn't pan out as he wanted. But this year, he's averaging 8 points a game, 3 blocks a game, 5 rebounds a game, leading the team in the rebounds. Fab Melo had 11 points in the game, 6 rebounds, 3 for 3 from the free throw, which, for a big man, that's not easy to not easy to do, because as we've seen with Shaq. And there's just, Syracuse is a really solid team. Another big game of the week up until today. There were 3 big games, but this is the second big game, was Baylor against Iowa State. Baylor's been struggling the last couple weeks, or last week. They lost their last 2 games to pretty good teams, but the really big thing for Baylor is that they just haven't had the presence of Perry Jones. Quincy Miller has been able to play well, and Perry Jones, who's was this guy who came in, huge hype, McDonald's All-American, last year was going to be a lottery pick. He said, I'm coming back, I want to even do bigger things for Baylor. And at the start of the year, he really was. They were in the ranked, they're still in the top 10, but I'm pretty sure they're ranked in the top 5. They were number 1 in the Big 12. But recently they lost to Kansas and Missouri, which are great teams, but still, to lose to both of those teams is just not very impressive. And he just had really off games against those teams. But he really bounced back against Iowa State, who's having a great year under Coach Fred Hoiberg, who was at Iowa State and played his pro ball for the Minnesota Timberwolves, for all you Timberwolves fans out there. He was one of those guys who came in and made that 3 shot. He was a good defensive specialist. And the real big thing that he's been able to do is he's been able to get players to come to his program from transfer. All these guys who've had trouble, like Royce White from Minnesota. When he went to Minnesota, he was considered one of those guys who could turn the program around. He transferred after 1 year. He's the biggest point guard in the NBA, in the NCAA, 6'7", and Chris Allen, who was at Michigan State, who was on a few of those teams with Tom Izzo, who went to the Final Four, also is playing for Iowa State. So Iowa State's had a great year. Going into this game, they were 8-4, tied with Baylor. No, Baylor was also tied with Baylor. They were both 8-4. Iowa State was pretty much a surprise of the Big 12. It was kind of a statement game for Baylor to say, we're not going to lose 3 in a row. Like Creighton did. The Creighton Blue Jays lost 3 in a row and just dropped out of the rankings. That's what happens when you lose 3 in a row and you're ranked. It's hard to, to show to the people who are voting the polls that you're a legitimate team. But Iowa State gave a good effort, but Baylor ran away with it in the last few minutes. The next game was last night, I believe. It was at 10 p.m. It was a late game. It was the UNLV against, it was San Diego State, against New Mexico. And you know what? New Mexico won the game. UNLV and San Diego State have been, the top 2 teams in the Mountain West this year. But let's not forget New Mexico is coached by Steve Alford, the former Hoosier and Iowa coach, who did a pretty good job at Iowa. And they got the win, and it was a pretty big win for New Mexico, and kind of a difficult loss for San Diego State. They had a huge game over UNLV or this weekend, and to lose 2 in a row was just very difficult for San Diego State, even though Coach Fisher, the ex-coach of Michigan, who had that 5-5 team in the late 80s, early 90s, is doing an amazing job at San Diego State, considering that his top 4 scorers left and his forward Leonard was drafted in the first round. We have about 1 minute left, so I'm just going to talk really, really quickly about a few games that were played last night. Indiana beat Northwestern. Missouri won. St. Mary's lost, who are ranked, which kind of, they're 12-2 now. What else do we have? That's about it. Now we're going to end the show with the games of the weekend, in my opinion. We have, the huge rivalry game at 9 p.m., primetime ESPN game, Ohio State against Michigan. The big question for me will be, will Trey Burke be able to lead this young Wolverines team against this experienced Ohio State team with William Buford, Jared Solinger, Aaron Kraft? We have a really intriguing game, Marquette against the UConn Huskies at 12 o'clock. Marquette's ranked 12th in the country. He's had a great year. Buzz Williams has done an outstanding job. Connecticut, on my last week's show, I talked about how Connecticut's really been a disappointment. Their coach, Jim Calhoun's been out for the last few weeks or 2 weeks due to injuries or health. Sorry. They really need this win. The Huskies are struggling. They were struggling last year, but we know what happened. They won the national championship. And then kind of one of those, not one of those big school games, is the UNLV New Mexico game, sorry. Because suddenly Steve Alford's team is tied now for first in the big Mountain West with UNLV and San Diego State. And New Mexico wasn't supposed to be as good as they are this year. And this is a huge game. It's in New Mexico. It's in their great arena. It's a very big game to see if UNLV can, reclaim the number 1 spot. They're ranked 11th in the country. They're having a great year under Coach Rice. And those are the games of the weekend. If I were you, the best one really is to watch Ohio State against Michigan. It should be a great, great game, great atmosphere. Dickie V will be there, which is always fun. And that's it for our show. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, we're going to cover some more college basketball. Hopefully, we'll talk a little more about Jeremy Lin. And we have some pretty cool interviews next week. We're going to have some coaches from the NCAA next week. We're going to have Alex Tice, potentially a Maccabi Ashdod player. Everyone should tune in tonight for the 7:30 football match with Judean Rebels versus Jerusalem Kings at 7:30, which is at the Kraft Stadium, owned by Patriots owner Robert Kraft. And that's it. Good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the show, and hopefully you... Oh, last thing, Goldstein on Geld is on next, hosted by Doug Goldstein. The guest on the show will be Michael Spence. Really, really cool 2001 Nobel Prize winner for economics. Everyone, have a good day, have a good night in Jerusalem, and that's it for me. Bye.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.